Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of Dime Box Discovery. Sorry, I know it's been a little while, but we are back and we do have cards here today, but we do something a little bit different. Today I'm not only going to show you some cards, I'm going to tell you a story of how I acquired these cards. If that's not for you, that's totally cool, I get it, but the reason this is relevant is because to acquire these cards, I believe I set a world record for the largest amount of distance traveled for an in-person trade. Now, how far did I travel to make this trade, to acquire these cards, you ask? Well, that would be 4,704 miles. So let me take you back to how the story all starts. So as you know, I've talked about it before, I'm on TCDB, that's the trading card database.com. Well, on there, you can look for cards that, are on your want list and see you match up with. Well, there's a guy I matched up with who had a bunch of cards that I wanted, a bunch that I had that he wanted and vice versa. So I thought, well, I'll make a trade with this guy. But it also happens to tell you where they live. And I noticed that this guy happened to live in some town in Austria. And obviously it was not going to make sense to mail like 10 cards back and forth from the US to Austria. It not even close to make sense for the postage. Well, turns out about a month after that, my girlfriend says, hey, I have to go to Austria for work, going to Vienna. And we had gone the year before, actually. So she's like, I have to go back to Vienna. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, wait a minute. This guy on TCDB, who I've never met, has no idea who I am, lives in Austria. So I take a shot in the dark and I send this guy a message. This guy's named Peter. No idea, hoping his English is good. Turns out his English is absolutely fantastic, by the way. And I say, Peter, you don't know me. My name is Jeff. I'm from the United States of America. And I'm going to be in Vienna coming up in about 3 months. Do you want to make an in-person trade of these baseball cards? And he replied back. I waited about a day or two and got a reply back. And he said, Jeff, my name is Peter. That sounds awesome. So, long story short, well, when I'm there, I meet up with Peter and his wife in the hotel when we first get there. So I meet Peter, we trade cards, and we talked about this beforehand. And Peter says, Jeff, you came all this way. I want to show you Vienna. We hop on the subway. He takes us around. And this guy is awesome. I love Peter. So he takes me on this amazing personal tour of Vienna, including showing me this absolutely mind-blowingly beautiful city hall they have there, which is great, and all the amazing things. And one thing I can tell you about Vienna, if you ever travel to Austria, Germany, any of those places, go to Vienna. It was literally the heart of the Habsburg Empire for like centuries. So everything awesome in Europe is in Vienna. There's multiple castles. There's all these different museums. It's really incredible. Anyway, so Peter and I have this great time and we go to dinner, he and his wife and I, and we make a trade. And I'm going to show you a picture of Peter. And it's really cool. We make this great trade, and that's where some of these cards came from. And so it was so great the first year. I reached out to Peter and I said, Peter, we're coming back. I'm going to bring you more cards. So the first year I went, he was working on finishing some sets. So I brought him, literally it was like 600 different cards of 1988, 89, 1990 tops. I'm probably the first person to take junk wax of 88, 89, and 90 tops through customs in Amsterdam in 30 years. When I went back the second year, he was working on the 1974 top set. I was able, through the help of a fantastic local card shop, to pull in tons and tons of his 1974 Topps card sets. We finished off his 89 top set, his 1990, and nearly finished his 1974 top set. But anyway, so Peter traded me a bunch of cards back, and I want to show you the cards that I got back from Peter, my friend in Austria. Here are the cards. So these are what I really got kind of from the first trade, was mostly these right here. These are 1932 Bulgaria sports tobacco cards. They are German, Austrian, whatever you want to call it. And I got a bunch of these, and these are really cool, and I want to show you. Do you know who this one is? Keep in mind, these are 1932, so they're basically mostly Olympians and things like that. Here's a hint. This guy's best friend in the movies was named Cheetah. Yes, this is the original Tarzan. This is Johnny Weissmuller. This is so cool. USA Star, you can see it's written in German there. And these are in fantastic shape, 1932. They're not overly expensive cards, but they're really cool. And to pick them up over in Austria is really cool. So that's a Johnny Weissmuller. Of course, he won gold medals in swimming before becoming Tarzan. This is Eddie Tolan. Eddie Tolan, a little bit lost to time in history. Eddie Tolan, known as the Midnight Express, Michigan. I think he was a Michigan guy, hence the M there. 1932 Olympics in LA, wins gold in the 100 and 200. He's the first non-Euro-American to be called world's fastest human. So he did that in 1932. We all know Jesse Owens in 1936, but really it was Eddie Tolan was the guy who really kind of set the tone for Jesse Owens. We all know the 1936 Olympics, Jesse Owens in Germany, of course, wins the gold medals, pisses off Hitler, which is totally awesome, and everything. Now, what's great is my friend Scott and I were talking a couple days ago, and Scott thought he had me, man. We're talking about Jesse Owens in the Olympics and some things because he had a Jesse Owens card at one point. And he says, Jeff, I got a trivia stumper for her. And he says, Jesse Owens won the gold medals in the races. I said, yeah. He said, who got the silver medals in the races? And he thought he had me. But because I happen to watch a lot of PBS and other things, I happen to know that the runner-up to Jesse Owens in 1936 was a guy named Mac Robinson. If you don't know the name, that's okay. It happens to be the brother of Jackie Robinson. Yes, that Jackie Robinson, his brother Mac Robinson, was the silver medalist in those Olympics in the track and field races. Back to 1932 in these cards. This is Bill Tilden. So Bill Tilden was the world number one for 6 consecutive years in tennis. He was the first American to win Wimbledon in 1920. We'll go with 1920, I believe. So, and then this is Sabin Carr, gold medal winner in pole vault in 1928. And then a whole bunch of those. He was like, here, have a bunch of these. I'm like, dude, I'm giving you like 600 1990, 1989 Topps cards and things, and a couple other like 74s and things the first time around. He's like, I have 2 of each of these. You take these. So look at these. These are absolutely beautiful. I told him I love soccer. He was not a huge soccer fan. Oddly enough, growing up in Austria, he's a huge baseball fan. One day I'll really tell his story and tell you how he became a baseball fan. By the way, the guy has been to more Major League Baseball parks in the U.S. than I've been. He's been to something like 20-something different parks because when he went on vacation, he and his wife would come to America. They would go to games. The deal was they could go to games and see Major League Baseball games in any of the different baseball parks, but then he had to take her like to a national park or some museums and things like that on the off days. So these are all the different cards. Look at this, just absolutely beautiful photography. I love these 1932 cigarette cards. It says Bulgaria Sports, but they're German. That's what it's named. It's named Bulgaria Sports. Bulgaria Sports cards. But these are absolutely amazing. So these are what they kind of look like. There we go. In this set, by the way, the card he didn't give me, and that's totally cool. I understand why, because it's like a $500+ card. Is a card of Babe Ruth on it. Now, interestingly enough, it's been the most popular card since the set came out in 1932, but not because of Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth happens to share the card with a man named Max Schmeling, who at the time, or I think it was at the time, or maybe he wasn't anymore, but I believe he still was the world heavyweight boxing champion out of Germany. So Germans love the card because Max Schmeling was on it, and this guy named Babe Ruth happened to be on it also. Now the card goes for like $500. Okay, this is really cool. These are something I can't get in the U.S., so he brought me these. These are from the Euro Baseball Classic in 2023. They play it every single year with teams from different teams made up of different countries of European players. He went to it. It was held in the Czech Republic in 2023. Spain came in first with Great Britain in second. So you might see 1 or 2 names you recognize. Eric Sogard, if you remember, played for the Oakland A's. And he's been retired for several years, but I don't think he's actually from Czechia, but I believe that he's got ancestry there. So he played for them, hit 2 home runs in this European Baseball Classic. And Jeremiah Profair, he was in the minor leagues for a long time. I don't think he cracked the major leagues, but he had 3 home runs and really had he was a long-time Rangers prospect. So look at these. What's really cool too is they leave a spot to get signed because like these things, like 1,300 people show up to these games, if that. And they're played at little small fields in the Czech Republic, so you can get these signed if you really wanted to. So these are really cool. One of the guys who played in this thing was Harrison Ford. If you remember that name, he played in the World Baseball Classic for Great Britain. He was a first-round draft pick. He's in the Mariners minor league system. He had an amazing European Baseball 2023 run. So it's hard to get these in America. I'm one of the few people who happens to have these cards in America. It's like, here are the fields. So like this is where they played this Euro Baseball Classic at. And I think this was like the championship game field, if that gives you an idea of how many people showed up to these games. Here are the mascots. Spiky, Fasty, and Catchy. Oh boy, I don't think I looked at those names before I went through these. Spiky, Fasty, and Catchy. How fantastic. So it's really interesting to note, and you're going, why do they have like English names? If you look on these, on the back, they're printed in English. Congratulations, you received the card. And you go, why would they be printed in English? Well, because, of course, in the Europe Baseball Classic, you got people from Czechia, the Netherlands. You got people speaking German, Israeli, Greek, so you have all these different languages there. The one universal language that most people in Europe speak is English. So they put the cards in English because that's the most wide appeal to the most people who were at the World Baseball Classic or playing in it. Now, Peter also has to have some great vintage cards in it for my Oakland A's team sets. These are fantastic. Love to get these. Super excited about these. And I'm working on the Circle K home run hitters from 1985. And he gave me a bunch of these. So really working on those. And then I do collect Benny DiStefano, and I did not have this one. So what's really cool is he cannot get cards in Austria. They literally do not exist. Here's some Mark McGwire's he gave me. They do not exist in Austria. You cannot buy baseball cards there. So he has to get them only when he's on vacation in the U.S. or when he travels to other European countries like Sweden that happen to have them. So that's the cards I got by completing the world's longest, how about we'll go with most distance travel for an in-person trade, 4,704 miles. And that's actually just the distance as the crow flies from Cincinnati to Vienna to the airport. But there's actually more travel than that. But 4,074 miles is how far I travel to get these cards. Now, I do want to show you these real quickly before we go. These are really weird and really weird. So, did I say really weird and really weird? I think I did. Anyway, these are, they're all in German. I believe it's German here. Yeah, that is German. Die, it's actually D, that means the. D-I-E, it means the in German. So these are tyrannical cards. These are tyranny cards of different people. So these are just really strange, really odd. So I picked them up. Where did I pick these up from? Well, it's a great question. I picked them up. There's Caligula and Nero. If you know anything about, Romans, those are very interesting cards to have. Like some of these are really crazy. Like Hannibal in here, Julius Caesar. There's Napoleon. And then they kind of get odd, like some of these other ones. There's Kublai Khan. So these are like the old school ones. And then there's more modern ones too. So they're literally a game that you play. I don't know how you play the games. I don't speak German. I picked them up at a thing called the Museum of Fakes. It's literally a tiny little room of a museum in the basement of a building in this kind of nondescript street in Vienna that talks about fake artwork from around the world. And it's literally like 20 different exhibits. But in the gift shop, they had these. These are more men of tyranny, and these are women of tyranny. And so they were $11.50. Yeah, $11.50 in euros. So that's like $13 American, something like that. So I could not pass them up. Anyway, this is what I picked up on my travels to Vienna, Austria. Along with also, I did a video once on, if you go back, what cards can be found in a German gas station. That was also on that same trip. Anyway, my good friend Peter now, who lives in Austria, Vienna, Austria. There we go. And I made a wonderful trade. And he is a friend now. We do communicate. We send emails. He's a massive MLB fan. We talk about MLB stuff. He's a pen pal, I guess, over email. And I love it. What's the farthest you've ever traveled for an in-person trade? Tell me your story. Tell me what you loved. Tell me about Tarzan, whatever it is. And anyway, thanks for watching. More videos coming up down the road.